Jim, you're one of the co-founders of GoViral, an UGC and creative agency actually based in the Netherlands. And I'm super hyped for this episode today because it's actually the first one that record in English. So a very warm welcome from my side to this first episode in English. But before we go into any great detail about your agency, about UGC creators in general, creative testing, etc., the first question that I always ask everyone that comes into our podcast is, how did you actually find your way into marketing? What made you choose actually the path of a creative strategist?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the invitation. Good question. So I'm 22 years old right now, and my journey started when I was, 17. With New Year's Eve, there was an event for our age, always 16 plus, but that year it was cancelled. So we have to think about a solution. So one friend of mine and I thought, okay, what if we are going to organize our own events? And then we thought, okay, let's go, let's do it. So we went to a local bar. Usually it has 400 places for 400 people. But we wanted to do something bigger. So there is a bar and it also has a cafe. And what we decided to do is we decided to combine 3 rooms together instead of just one. And instead of 400 people, we could fit 600. Nice. And then we needed to invite people. We needed people to come. So what we did is we used Instagram organic and some out-of-home marketing, so at schools and stuff. And 1 month before the event, it was actually sold out. So that was my first touch with marketing. And then from there, I hosted a few events. It sold out, and then there was the pandemic. And then I got a regular job at a recruitment marketing agency. But it was with a lot of big corporates. And I thought, okay, this is going too slow. I want to move faster. So then I decided to start my own marketing agency. At the beginning, we were doing everything. But then, when you do everything, you're not specializing in something and you're not really good at it. So then I decided to specialize on TikTok because I really like the creative way of thinking. And maybe you don't call it creative, but what I started to do is I started my own TikTok channel, created some TikToks, but I was literally just copy-pasting what was working in the United States and doing it in the Dutch language. And I grew to 30K followers, around that.
Nice.
And then I thought, okay, let's help companies with this because I can grow my presence to 30K. Yeah. So that is my mission at that time. And then, it didn't go as planned. I actually spoke with some big companies like Creative in the Netherlands, helped them with the recruitment, but the Netherlands wasn't ready, and my sales skills also weren't ready yet. And that's when I met my co-founder Thomas. He was doing TikTok ads for coaches. And then we decided just from one day, okay, everyone who is on TikTok needs creators. Let's build a creator database together and just both use the creators for our clients. And then after a day, we said, okay, now we have to both do sales, both do finance. Why don't we just start a company together? So that was when GoViral was born. We started as a full service TikTok agency, or at least that was what we thought. We did 3 test cases. And all of them flopped, all of them with Dutch brands. We created our own content and all of them flopped. But what we saw was that the content which we created, it performed well on meta ads, so Facebook ads. So then we found our new mission. We started creating ads for Facebook ads. And that's actually what we're doing for 2 years and 2 months now. So we started as a TikTok agency, now pivoted to a content agency for Facebook. We started doing a lot of UGC, and now we also start expanding from UGC to statics, some fake podcast ads, some mini VSLs, so we can really help our clients with everything they need, all the content they need to really scale their budgets profitably.
Insane. Like, brutally honest, I mean, man, you're 22 years old. It's insane what you went through, like, already with 22 years old. So big props to your journey. And I think one question that actually fits quite well with that, because you said you're expanding from UGC to also other ad formats. Is it because UGC is dead?
Yeah, I see the topic a lot also on LinkedIn and Twitter. I see UGC dead. Yeah, I mean, things go dead always. So what worked a year ago with just normal ads don't work at this point.
No.
So I believe people will keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. At some point, it is dead. But UGC as a concept, it isn't dead. You have to improve yourself. And what worked 2 years ago, like the unboxing style stuff, yeah, indeed, that doesn't work anymore. It's way more advanced now. And how I see UGC, it's more like a tool. And I think every advertiser sees it like that. You have statics, UGC, podcast ads, gives all types of content. And it's just a tool. So the thing we all want to do is to transform the emotions of the customer into ads and at the end into sales. And UGC was just a concept that's been used a lot of times over the past few years. And is here also for the future. I mean, it's a really cheap way of producing a lot of content, and especially for the smaller brands. It's a way more profitable road than many times to create your own content with UGC creators or with your own family or friends, instead of hiring a real camera crew. With high production, for example, for 5K a day, when you can get some UGC ads for way less.
100%. Like, I mean, I see it every time. It's still working 100%. I mean, sometimes it's not about like it's one concept, as you just mentioned. UGC is one concept that you can do, but of course it also depends how your UGC is structured. There's so many ways how you can actually produce UGC content. So everybody that is saying UGC is dead is maybe just testing one specific kind of UGC. You can go so broad about it, like different ad angles, etc. So yeah, I'm absolutely fully with you in this case. So yeah.
And I'm curious how you think about it, but if you say UGC is dead, maybe I think your way of creating the scripts at that point is that, or I'm curious if UGC is that of all the other ads that you try in the ad account are working at one point, because 100%. If that is the case, then maybe UGC is that. Yeah. But if most of the ads that you produce aren't profitable, I think you have to restructure your ads and your thoughts behind the ads and do some more deep dive in the audience itself.
100%. It's always about the audience. Probably that's also what you see, because you, like, I mean, we talked also before this interview here about it. I know that you're also very deep into going into the target audience, understanding customers, etc. And we will also come to that later. But first, I wanted to ask you as well is, what do you think is actually the biggest misconception that brands still have about UGC?
The biggest misconception.
Yeah,
there are some misconceptions. So first of all, I think brands, especially the smaller brands who started because they see some videos on YouTube. I don't know if you can call them brands yet, but they think, it's easy. And it isn't easy. And they think of UGC as the holy grail. But like we discussed before, it isn't the holy grail. It isn't the thing that is going to bring your ad account from ROAS 0.8 to ROAS 4 because you insert UGC in there. No, it is you will have to do the work. You have to know the customer's pains and desired outcomes. And I think that is the biggest misconception about it.
How do you actually identify, like, how are you guys doing it? Going into the pains and gains for the customers. How does the process for that look like? Because you just mentioned it.
Yeah, we have some tools that we use for that. So first of all, Google and ChatGPT are your biggest friends. So when you are doing customer research and you are talking about a problem, so let's say for curly girls, you talk about frizz. Just type in Google how to manage frizz, and that's literally questions people have, or at this point you can even ask it in ChatGPT, but also ask to add the source, so you always have a source of where it's coming from. Besides that, we use Reddit a lot to see how people talk about problems, which solutions that they already tried, and also the solutions that they tried. Why don't they work? Why are they different than our products? And then we can also take that with us within our messaging. And besides that, I think we take 90% of the pains and the desired outcomes and the failed solutions out of the reviews. So basically, we extract
such a big lever.
the reviews of all of the brand itself, but also of the 3 biggest competitors. And we build an automation, and what we ask them is to analyze all the reviews, and from there just give us the most listed pain points, desired outcomes and stuff. But we also ask them to include reviews that talk about that pain point, so we don't only know what the pain point itself is, so for example having frizz in the hair, but we also ask, okay, what is in the review? So we see, okay, I'm struggling to get my frizz under control within 10 minutes in the morning. And then we know, okay, that's something that we can literally use within the ad. So it's literally the language of the customer. And we can do this for the reviews, but you can also do this for post-purchase surveys, and build some prompts. And those are the most used tools to really understand the emotions of the customers. And besides that, we also leverage ads of competitors, okay, which pain points are they using, and the ads that are already launched and performing well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what we always also propagate, that you should definitely take a look. Just start with Google first. It's always also great to see, like, from an SEO perspective, what blog articles are actually ranking, and okay, there's also an opportunity to rank something for it. And also then, of course, for the ads, as you mentioned, 100%, and also ad library, very, very important. But actually, one thing that came into my mind, how do you guys actually do it for lifestyle brands? Sometimes there is no real problem that they solve. So let's say just like a regular, I don't know, brand that sells t-shirts, hoodies, etc. It's just like all about the looks. How do you go in that case with the UGC style? Because it's not really targeting a specific problem, or is it that you most of the time actually work with clients that actually do solve, like they have a product that solves a problem? Because sometimes, there's also products that just look nice, taste good, or whatever. Is there like a different way how you do it for them?
So most of our clients are actually products that solve a problem, or that are a basic product like a t-shirt, but they have something special.
Gotcha.
So for t-shirts, you can also include emotion, but it's not in real pain points, or maybe people won't say in the ads that they are uncertain or something like that. But we all wear what we like because we feel good in it. And then we can leverage that emotion. But for example, painting brands or print-on-demand brands for stuff on the wall, it's more difficult to tap into emotions. Most of the time when I speak with those brands, I say, okay, we aren't the best fit for this. What I would do is I would start creating more aesthetics and put your product within households that fit the image itself, because people have to like it. And then with those type of products, we can't really make UGC. But if you look, for example, at the Represent, they don't just show a t-shirt. They have some really crazy campaigns about the people that are wearing it, and you get a certain feeling with it. And you have the founders that are out there. You have a feeling with the brand, and so it doesn't really solve a problem. And in that case, UGC, I think, wouldn't be the best fit. But we can certainly use UGC creators to show the product, to show different type of models, and then we can list out some benefits and also tap into the emotion of being liked. So True Classic does it very well. I know Icon Amsterdam also have some of those ads.
100%.
It's just girls saying, "Oh, I like your shirt. I want to go home with you," stuff like that. So it's still emotions.
It works.
Yeah, it works. So you can still do it.
Yeah, I think like what you can actually extract from it is like people buy because of emotions. Like most of the stuff that is sold on Facebook, etc., it's because you buy it out of emotion. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it's just really an emotional buy. Something is cheaper, you buy it immediately. But sometimes, of course, it takes longer. But it's all about looking at a certain product in a certain environment. Of course, something like a sofa or whatever takes longer to buy because it costs you like a couple of €100 or a couple of €1,000. So very, very good point. It's all about emotions and trying to get those emotions into the video creators or into the static creators. You also already mentioned a little bit we may already dipped a little bit into your UGC process. How do you actually go about once you work with someone together? Like you start let's make an assumption, like you start working with a new client. What are usually the first steps that you do when you start working with someone? Because most of our audience, of course, is already running some ads. Maybe they can extract something from it. Like how does your ideation process look like? What do you do in the accounts to make a first analysis, etc.? How do you come up actually with ideas?
Yeah, so first of all, when we start working with a new brand, we have an onboarding form that we have to set expectation, but also to extract all the info from the brand. Mm-hmm. So how do they describe their target audience, benefits of their product, what is important, what have they already been testing, and then we have all that information, and we go through our own analysis. I most of the time first start with the ad account audit. So then I open up DatAds, of course. I look at the top performing dashboard. I look at the ads for the last 30 days, 190 days, and 180 days. And so I have an idea of what have they been doing and which ads did perform well. Most of the times I only look at the real winners on there. So when we see, okay, a brand or an ad had 20K spent, we know, okay, we can build on this ad. When an ad had 1K spent and it was profitable, yeah, it's nice, but it is validated, but it isn't really validated yet. So we take those big winners and we insert them into our little database with, okay, what is the hook, what is the structure, what is the angle of the ad, what are the problems listed in the ads. We do the exact same thing for ads of competitors. So then we look at the biggest competitors, or for our clients in the Netherlands, we look at the brands in United States. Mm-hmm. And then we filter on longest running, but that doesn't say anything. So what we do is we look for the ads that have the most variations. So the ads with the same angle over and over again. And if we see one angle coming up very often, then we have some point of validation that we can test it. So we also include all of those ads within our foreplay board. We save them. We save the structure, the hook, the pain points, you name it. And then from there we start with the target audience. So we start Googling for all those questions we have been seeing. We start looking on Reddit, how people talk about the problem, the review analysis. When the brand has a post-purchase survey, we also use that. Then from there we build a summary of everything we learned and what we can use within the ads. So we tie features of the product to benefits, and then we have a whole list that we can use. And when we have done the research, we come up with hypotheses, so things we want to test. We do it for target audiences. So let's take the hair care brand for curly girls, for moms of 50 who have 2 kids. We have it for moms of 30 who have 1 baby, who have just only 10 minutes in the bedroom. And then we have females of, let's say, 20 years old who have a lot of time but less to spend. Then we can test angles. So, for example, manageable curls. Want to have a gorgeous look within 10 minutes. Then we write down all those angles and we write down some concepts that we found we want to test. And then it's a really data-driven approach. So we have a list. We prioritize which one we think will perform the best. Mm-hmm. And we start creating ads from there. And when we see one angle is performing well, then we will keep making ads of the same angle, but with different formats of different
Gotcha.
concepts or different audiences. So that's how our process looks like. Yeah, I think 99 of the times.
How do you actually go about, let's say you've identified the best performing ads in the ad account in the beginning. Probably it's like 1 to 2 ad angles that they actually advocate for in their creatives. Once you do your hypothesis sheet, do they have like a higher percentage, or you rank them higher because they were already proven in the specific ad account? Or let's say you take a look on the American competitors to other European competitors, etc., and you see because they're much bigger than we are, of course, so you probably may rank also those hypotheses that you generated through the research a little bit higher. Or how does your distribution, like on a percentage basis, actually look like from best performers versus hypotheses that you generated because of your research?
That's actually a really good question, and it depends on the size of the account and also if there are other agencies working in it.
Gotcha.
But when it's a brand below, let's say 300K a month, what we do is we start doing more of what is already proven to work. So we actually made the mistake to, at that point, also diversify a lot with new angles. But the only data that you really want to look at is the data within the ad account itself.
Yeah.
So that's our number one priority. And if already something has proven to work, then we want to iterate on that and start doing more of that. And besides that, we mostly use the 80-20 rule. So 80% of what's been working already and 20% of what isn't working yet. So if you're a real new brand starting out on Facebook or your ads aren't working, test as many different angles, not concepts, but angles. And when you see one angle's performing well, go all in on that angle. And when you reach, let's say, 300K a month, then you can also start diversifying more and more. Or there's a new product or something like that. But most of it, focus on what is already proven to work.
Awesome. I mean, I think here it's quite important actually to clarify, because I hear it so many people actually mixing it up. What is, in your definition, an ad angle, and what is in your definition an ad concept? Just to make it clear for everybody that is listening, because I hear it so many times, I see it so many times on LinkedIn, etc. People are mismatching what it is actually.
Yeah, good question, and it's going wrong a lot of the times. So
Yeah.
ad angles for us is the overall messaging of an ad, and an ad concept is how you deliver the ad messaging. So let's say an ad angle for the hair care brand is unmanageable curls, but an ad concept can be 3 reasons why, or problem solution. So that's the biggest difference. So angle is the messaging, concept is how you deliver the message.
Perfect. We gotta put it exactly out there like that. Yeah, finally, 100%. It's very important to make it actually clear, because sometimes people mismatch what it is. So that's actually the best and accurate way to talk about it. What do you actually think about once you identified a working ad angle, and you also talked a little bit about creative diversity? Have you ever taken the same concept, the same ad angle, like basically the same ad, and just have it recorded by a different content creator? So like different persona, because you want to tap into a new audience. You know, for example, let's say you have a woman record, like a 45-year-old woman record a video about the curly hairs that you just mentioned. Now you're going to switch it up and make it like to younger women, like 25 years old, just to have like a different persona in the UGC video itself, because in theory at least we feel more attracted to what is more similar to us, or like what we can identify with, and that's at least the theory. Have you ever tested something like that? Can you share any insights about this?
Yeah, we have tested it. So we have done it more in the past than we have done it in the last times. Mm-hmm. But it can work, so it can be a really powerful iteration, because you keep almost everything the same, but the only thing you change is the content creator. Yeah. And if you keep it as close as possible, the outcomes will be similar, but can also be very different. But I think it's very important when you do it that you have a reason that you also want to test it with another type of creator for another audience. And I also see a lot of brands doing this. I literally get the same ad from 3 different creators. So from what I can see out there, it's also something that is still being done and still really powerful.
Sure. Actually, since we already talked about content creators, how do you guys actually source your content creators? Because there are platforms out there where you can brief content creators. You can find the money on marketplaces. You can reach out on Instagram, etc. Do you have any way, let's say you're a brand, you want to go through the pain and source your own content creators? Of course, it's maybe also the secret sauce of your agency and that you build what you've built, how you find your content creators. Is there any recommendations that you can share how you can best in a way you can say it, identify great content creators?
So actually we have a really great team member, RJ is his name, and he helps us with the content creators. So he's almost full-time sourcing content creators for our agency.
Crazy. Okay.
So we need a lot of them and in a lot of languages. But when you're starting out as a brand, UGC creators want to get jobs because they're self-employed. So almost all of them have it in their own bio on their social media platforms. So when you search for a content creator, just go on the social platforms and start looking for UGC creators. That's one of the most powerful tools we have. And when you have some creators in your network, just ask them, hey, do you maybe know some other ones? Because almost all of them are in other communities. Almost all of them get coached by someone. And they also know other creators. So if you have one creator of a certain audience, so let's say female, 25 years old, most of the time they know, let's say, 5 other ones. And if you ask all those 5, hey, do you maybe know 5 other people who I can speak with or who's interested in this? Because they can earn money. So they will help their friends earn more money. So just go out there and ask other content creators as well. Okay, do you maybe know more creators that want to work for our brand?
Absolutely. I mean, also probably it's quite important, I would assume, at least what I hear when I talk with other agencies, other brands, etc., that good briefings play quite an important role here. What do you say? How important is actually the part of the creativity of the content creator, that he or she has a certain idea how content can look like and has an understanding of the brand, versus there's a content creator out there that has a certain feeling, but you give him the perfect briefing, all the information that is needed. How do you feel between the split? Okay, it's totally up to the content creator. I believe in his creativity. He will understand, or she will understand what all the product is about, and he or she will be able to deliver a great product that I'm satisfied with, compared to I take also a lot of effort actually in producing a briefing or a script that supports the content creator as best as possible to have less iterations. How does your approach actually look like for this case?
I think it's different for different cases. But for most of our clients, we send a really strict brief. So we have copywriters in-house who are really skilled. So we know how to write the script and what we want to say in the script. And because we do all the research about how customers talk, we do all of that for the creator. Sometimes we say, okay, you can adjust it a little bit to feel more natural. But also I think for some concepts, so let's say street interviews, and that's something we haven't done yet, but you're also looking into doing that more. But when you want to do that, it's basically those people, they have a really own style of creating their content, and it's really authentic, and they need to talk with people, random people on the street, and they need to be really confident with themselves. And if they're constantly doubting about, hey, what do I have to say? I think that isn't going to work. So in those cases, I would suggest give a raw outline of what you want for all the content they deliver, and then let their imagination take over from there.
Yeah, nice. I absolutely feel it, because if something is unauthentic, I think actually the audience can tell for sure. Like it feels not good. That's also when maybe UGC is dead if you produce unauthentic content that people can tell it's just not good, basically.
No, indeed.
Yeah, 100%. Let's say you've already like produced your creative. You're quite sure that it will perform well because you did your research, etc. Now you're putting it out there. Most of the time, of course, also the brand itself does it because they do the media buying stuff, or another agency is running your ads in the ad account. Then your next step is basically then in the analysis part. Can you walk us a little bit through how your analysis part actually looks like? Like after what time do you look at it in creative? What are like the metrics that you're looking for? How do you go about analyzing bigger patterns, for example, like you mentioned it, ad concepts, ad angles, etc. So if you can give us like maybe a short view into your thinking, how you think about analyzing creative tests once you put it out there after you started working with a client.
Yeah, so for us it really depends on the client itself, because they all have their unique way of launching the ads. Some of them immediately spend a lot of money behind an ad, and other ones they do it a little bit slower. So whenever we have enough data, so let's say 3 times average order value, then the media buyer shuts off the bad performing ads, and the top performing ad they let it run. And then after a certain time we see, okay, they do get a lot of spend. And when they do get a lot of spend, we can make assumptions based on that. So, or create hypotheses based on that. So if we see, okay, this ad angle actually is getting, for example, 5K, 10K, 15, 20K spend, then we see, okay, it's working. But what we have is we have our own Notion database with all the angles and all the concept and audience that we want to test. And it's also constantly changing over time. But how it looks like right now is that we put an angle that we want to test in there. We create ads for that angle. We test the ads. When we see it has enough spend, we can make our conclusions. So it's tested, but it's a loser. Then we aren't going to test it in that way again. It's tested, but it's undecided. Okay, then we can create one more concept or one more ad around it. And if it's tested and it's a winner, okay, we have to put a lot of effort with this angle. So yeah, the metrics that we are looking at, it's most of the time cost per purchase and ROAS. So the client gives their targets, and the media buyer shuts off the worst performing ads, and the ads that get the most spend. Yeah, then we know, okay, those are the winners. We are going to create more of that. Actually, one thing that I want to touch is the hooks, because I see a lot of people go to the hooks dashboard and just looking at, okay, which hooks that did get the highest hook rate. But one secret that I found, or at least it worked for me, is I don't look at just which hooks do have the highest hook rate or thumbs up ratio. But what I do is I take the account average of the CPA or the ROAS or the target, and I set it also as a equals or greater than within the dashboard. So we know, okay, these are only hooks of winning ads, because your hook can have a hook rate of 60%, but if it is a clickbait hook, yeah, nobody cares. It doesn't has any value for your ad account. So when you analyze your hooks, check, okay, do they have at least €300 spent? Do they hit the targets? Okay, then you can take those hooks and also start implementing them more in your ads.
So from my understanding, what you do is you basically take the DatAds report, best hooks, and you set filters there. So say spend is greater than, as you mentioned, €300, and at least like 5 purchases need to be, of course it's always client dependent, but like you have certain filters in there to see, okay, only hooks of ads that actually produce revenue and ROAS. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that actually hit the target.
Yeah, nice. Absolutely. Do you also take a look, like, because sometimes, maybe it also depends on the product, but do you also take a look at like the hold rate, for example, like how long a video is actually watched and like the CTR, or is it most of the time for you, okay, once the target ROAS is hit, or like you mentioned the hook as of now, but do you also take a look, okay, how well are ads actually clicked and watched for how many minutes or seconds?
Yeah, so how we look at it, and maybe it's different than others, but what we do is we first of all look at, okay, I call them the money metrics. And it's, okay, do they bring in revenue or do they hit the ROAS and are they on target CPA? If we see, okay, they do, then we use the soft metrics, or I call them the creative metrics, to understand why did an ad perform like this. So if we see, okay, this hook or thumb step ratio is really high, then we know, okay, we can use this thumb step or hook also for other videos. If we see, hey, this hold rate is above 12% or is actually 20%, then we can see, okay, this is a really good ad. We have to learn.
100%,
okay,
20% is crazy.
What did we do here? And we can take those learnings. But the mistake we made in the beginning was we took videos or ads that didn't perform well and started looking at the hook rates and the hold rates and the CDR and just start improving them a little bit. But for my opinion, it doesn't help. When you have a winning ad, you can use those metrics to understand, okay, what did you do very well? But if an ad isn't performing, it is a combination of all the things. And sure, you can use those metrics as like, okay, the video isn't clicked on enough yet, but making iterations on videos that didn't perform well or aren't near the targets, don't burn your money on those type of ads. That was our biggest mistake.
I believe sometimes you're just so confident about something that you thought is, no, it gotta work. We gotta switch the hook or the middle part and then it might work. I mean, if you have a good assumption about it, like you did your research, and maybe sometimes that is also the case, but sometimes you just need to let go. 100%. Yeah.
And if you see okay, we always test all of our concept or all of our ads with 3 up until 5 different hooks. Mm-hmm. So our hook rate should never be a problem. So at least one of them should be really good. But sometimes you see, okay, the hold rate is 8% and of the rest, the CDR and the hook is good, but the sales aren't what they need to be. And then we can just adjust the editing a little bit. But it can also be that the messaging is just way off and then we are just only looking at the creative stats and then, it should work because the creative stats tells that. But it doesn't work like that. So when an ad doesn't perform, just leave it like that and go concentrate on creating new assets, new scripts.
Understanding your target persona better. Yeah. Is there, because I know that you also you've been working with a couple of German brands as well. What would you say, since you operate mainly in the Netherlands, would you say there is a difference between Germany and Netherlands of the kind of creatives or UGC creatives that work? Have you encountered something like maybe from your perspective? I know it's maybe not just from your assumptions that you have, maybe it's not fully statistically proven because you don't have a real comparison, statistically blah blah blah, but from your feelings as you had it as of now, is there something that you can say about it?
It really depends on the client again, because one of our clients started selling in Germany 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah. And actually now Germany, the German ad account is way bigger than the Dutch ad account. Sick. And also the ROAS is 2 times as high as in the Netherlands. And sometimes I have the feeling, but I can be off, that in the Netherlands there is so many brands that really nailed UGC in the past, and we have 16 million people living here. And they see the same brand over and over again. If they spend, for example, 80K in the Netherlands alone, you reach everyone within your target audience. At some point you have reached everyone, and you can reach them twice, 3 times. And it feels like when we now are moving to Germany with this particular brand, that there is more potential there, and people haven't seen UGC that much. But it's crazy because I follow some German guys for a long time as well, so UGC has been around there as well. but maybe because there are so many people that there is less competitors per buyer actually. So that's something that we are seeing right now, but it's quite fresh. So, and it's also for one client, but it can be that it's really saturated at other points. But what we see with the videos that we created in the Netherlands, we translated them to German one-on-one just by adding other voiceovers, and we see almost the same top performers as in the Netherlands.
Crazy,
and
interesting.
Also, the crazy part is that ads that performed in the Netherlands 6 months back as a top performer, they now are top performers in Germany, because they weren't launched in Germany yet up until the point that they launched there, and then we see the same winners there. So it feels like at some points the audience in the Netherlands and Germany is the same, but it can also be just for this particular case. But when you have a great ad and you translate it into other languages, sometimes it's just free money, revenue, how you want to call it, because you can produce them with way lower investment. So there are some similarities there, but it's also quite new for us. So most of the brands that come to us, they come from Germany and want to sell in the Netherlands. And then we have a lot of brands in the Netherlands, or a few, I must say, not a lot, who also expand into Sweden, Norway, Finland, also Germany, and they have a different approach of just duplicating all the ads in all the other languages as well. And because it's cheaper to create them, they can unlock more revenue. But you also have to have a good working site. I think for Germany you have to have PayPal. Some of our clients just really said, okay, we needed to have a German address because otherwise people in Germany didn't believe us. And it's crazy for them. That was one of the things that drove up their conversion rate.
Really?
So
that
that was 1 year ago.
Check. Yeah, okay. That sounds so German.
It's really crazy. So I thought, okay, who would care? But they thought that some
Germans
specialist.
care. Yeah. Always those scammers from the Netherlands. Actually, it's currently a theme. Like you get, at least here in Germany, I hear it from a lot of friends as well. You get actually voice calls from the Netherlands, and you always know there's a scammer out there. Maybe that's one of the reasons, because you get, hey, this is PayPal, and a Dutch number is calling. That's maybe also one of the reasons why. I don't know, but that sounds super typical German. Yeah,
it can be, because I saw on Twitter the other day one of the dropshippers, if it ain't Dutch, it ain't much. So, so I think there are a lot of Dutch dropshippers out there.
Yeah, nice. You just touched the topic of internationalization, and you mentioned that you took the best performers from the Netherlands to Germany. And did you actually use AI tools to transfer like the voiceovers to the German market, or was it like a native speaker that you just gave a script and, for example, wrote it in English, please just translate it into German and talk about it? Or how do you go about like AI voiceovers? Because there are tools out there that automatically transcribe and or like automatically do the translation part for you, even in German and other languages.
Yeah. So the difficult part with AI is I speak German a little bit. But besides that, I can check if everything is correct. So, yeah, it's really difficult if you use AI to check, okay, is it the correct language? Do we have some cultural misunderstandings? Mm-hmm. So we always like to work with real native speakers, so they also can deliver the message in a better way to really convince people of their problem and the product and why they need to buy it. If you do it with AI, maybe if you're a smaller brand, you can do it. But if you're a brand who really is inherent, has some cash to expand, then I would highly suggest to work with native speakers. And there are a lot of different ways that don't have to be expensive. And then you have better content than using AI. And when you create AI voiceovers, you just have to create them yourself. So you're also losing time. So I would highly suggest to work with native speakers for the voiceovers.
Good call there. I mean, we just touched the topic also of AI, etc. Of course, it's out there. Are there any other future trends that you currently have an eye on, especially on case for whether if it's UGC or any other creative topics? Is there anything that you say, okay, this is going to be very, very interesting in the future for creating creatives in general?
Yeah, so we actually talked about it a little bit already, but UGC is becoming more and more used, so it's really accessible. With platforms like Hired in the Netherlands, Billo, I think, or Speakly in Germany. Everyone can just order a UGC video.
Yeah.
And there are some things like authenticity is becoming king. You see the brand High Smile, what they do is they film a lot of their content in their warehouse. And maybe people think it's just because they work there, they start filming there, but I don't know if their office is close to the warehouse. But it's actually showing that, okay, we are a real business. There are really working people here. We are packing your order. We are serving you. And you also see it, for example, with the Essence Fold. They also create some concepts in their warehouse. It's just like the feeling of authenticity and showing your brand and founder stories. And also people... there is now so much content out there that storytelling and the way of delivering the message becomes more and more important. So those are the trends I see. So not really tools, but the way of delivering the content and diversifying. And e-com is really competitor sensitive, if I say it correct. So if something works, a lot of people just hop on it and they start copying it. So the only question you can ask yourself is, how are we different? And in the Netherlands, we have a cool brand called Upfront. It's not one of our clients, but they do organic marketing very well. Mm-hmm. So I think everyone from my age who is on Instagram, on TikTok, they should know them because they just create content which is funny to watch. And you can just relate with it. So they have a mix of... their products and education about why their products are better. So they sell all type of protein stuff. So why their product is better. Also, then they have the more entertaining stuff. So they imitate TV programs and just use their products within, and it's just really funny. And then they also have a lot of micro influencers. So people who are starting are posting content about fitness and just relating the brand of Upfront to them and their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So they really make a difference on a lot of different places. And I think as a brand, you have to be different. And also what we want to do with our clients, and is the mission of our agency, is that we want to make the difference. And otherwise you're just mediocre.
100%.
And everyone can be mediocre, but if you really want to see quick growth, or at least growth in the upcoming years, you have to be different, and not do what you see with a competitor, but think about, okay, how am I different than everyone else? And start from there, building from there, and start talking with your customers. Start talking about, okay, what do they need, and how can you transform that into products, marketing, messaging, 100%. And everything you do with the brand itself.
I mean, you summarized it basically perfectly. You gotta have an understanding of your audience. Only then you can stand out, be unique, and don't just be a copycat of big brands out there. Otherwise, you won't stand long out there. And man, you have it basically perfectly summarized. What brands have to do. It's not about hopping on the next new trend. Maybe there's some new form like Dubai chocolate, was it here? Like everybody was hopping on a Dubai chocolate trend. Now here in the German Christmas markets, everybody's selling Dubai crepe and Dubai chocolate, whatever. It's insane, like for double the price, but it's not a long-term strategy how you build a successful business. It's all about understanding your customers. And so fully here with you. What would you say, like, since we're coming now to an end, what is your number one lesson that you've learned along your digital marketing journey? I mean, you're just 22 years old. I'm feeling like an old man here with 27 and I'm still young. But throughout those years, I mean, since you're 17 years old, starting your first event marketing thing, agency, whatever. It's not an agency, but it was like your first real project. Now with your UGC experience, what would you say is the number one lesson that you've learned across all along your journey?
I think it's the same with almost everything. So when we started the event and we want to sell it out, we thought about, okay, what is the event we would like to go to?
Yeah.
And how would we like to receive the information? And how would we make it interesting for ourselves? When we are attracting new clients for our agency, we also think about, okay, who's our target audience and what are their problems and how can we help them? What information do they need? And it's the same with ads. We all have a lot of experience we have a few years experience as marketers. And sometimes we just think because we know marketing that we know how to sell a product. But each product is unique and it all starts with the audience you sell it to.
Yeah.
And I think we touched the topic a lot of times during this podcast. But if there's one key takeaway, is start with your audience and build from there. And then when you have some data, you can start building from data, but still leverage the emotions of the audience.
I think there's nothing more to add to that. Jim, I really want to thank you. Thanks for being a guest today. Thanks for sharing all your insights. I think there are quite some helpful insights that were provided today. So thanks for taking the time, and I'm really looking forward to working with you together in the future as well.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I hope everyone has understand the podcast very well. I did my best in my English. Thanks for giving me this shot as the first guest outside of Germany, and yeah, for everyone who really needs some insight in their creatives and their data, I think DatAds is the number one tool out there. So I cannot recommend it enough, and it was fun talking, and I'm sure that we are going to talk a lot more behind the scenes. Thank you.
100%. Thank you, Jim, and also everybody that is interested in working with Jim or expanding to the Netherlands. Jim is your guy. Shoot me a message, and I'm super happy to connect y'all. Awesome. Thank you.